the challenge. The Grand Stellar Academy floated in orbit above a bright blue gas giant. Its silver towers reflected the planet's light, shining like a crown in space. It was not just a school. It was where the strongest warriors from many worlds came to train, compete, and prove their worth. On this day, the main arena was full. Cadets filled the upper seats, their uniforms bright and proud. Officers stood along the railings, watching carefully. At the highest level, inside a private glass balcony, sat Princess Lyra, heir to one of the most powerful alien empires in the sector. Lyra was known for her sharp mind and quick skill with a blade. She had trained since childhood in combat arts, strategy, and leadership. Her species valued strength and speed, and she had both. Many believed she would one day become a ruler who expanded her empire's influence across the stars. But today, she looked bored. Below her, a training demonstration was taking place. Different instructors from different species were showing their fighting styles. Energy blades flashed. Shield sparks lit the air. The crowd cheered at every dramatic strike. Then a human stepped into the arena. He wore a simple black uniform with no bright armor plates and no glowing enhancements. His movements were calm, almost slow compared to the others. His name was Orion. He was listed as a senior combat instructor. Lyra leaned forward slightly. "That is the human?" she asked one of her royal guards. "Yes, Your Highness," the guard replied. "Captain Orion, former Earth military." Lyra watched as Orion demonstrated a basic blade form. His movements were clean but simple. No spinning attacks. No dramatic leaps. Just steady footwork and controlled strikes. "That is their style?" Lyra asked. "It is considered highly practical," the guard answered carefully. Lyra gave a small laugh. "It looks dull." In the arena, Orion finished his demonstration and lowered the training blade. The cadets clapped politely. Some seemed impressed. Others looked confused. Lyra stood up suddenly. "I wish to test this human style," she said clearly. Her voice carried through the balcony speakers and into the arena below. Conversation stopped. All eyes turned upward. The Academy commander stepped forward quickly. "Your Highness, today's demonstrations are scheduled." "I request a friendly duel," Lyra interrupted. "Nothing serious. A simple match." The crowd reacted with excitement. A royal duel was rare and entertaining. Below, Orion looked up toward the balcony. His expression did not change. The commander hesitated. "Captain Orion?" Orion gave a small nod. "If the princess wishes." Lyra smiled. "Good." Moments later, she entered the arena floor. Her combat suit activated smoothly, forming light armor across her arms and legs. A glowing energy blade formed to her hand, humming softly. The crowd cheered loudly. Orion stepped to the center as well. He removed his academy jacket and placed it aside. Underneath, he wore a simple fitted uniform. No shield generator activated. No glowing armor appeared. He picked up a standard training blade from the rack. Lyra tilted her head. "No shield?" she asked. "I won't need one," Orion replied calmly. A few cadets laughed at that. From the officer section, however, several older veterans grew quiet. They knew Orion's record. They knew where he had served before joining the academy. They knew why he walked with such steady balance. Lyra raised her blade and gave a playful bow. "This is only for sport," she said. "Do try to keep up." Orion bowed slightly in return. "Of course." The dual field activated. A faint energy barrier rose around the arena to prevent accidental damage. Lyra moved first. She dashed forward with incredible speed, blade flashing in a bright arc toward Orion's shoulder. Orion stepped aside. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just enough. The energy blade missed him by inches. The crowd cheered at the speed of her attack. Many assumed the human had barely avoided disaster. Lyra turned sharply and attacked again, this time from a lower angle. Orion blocked with his training blade, the impact sending a small shock through the air. He did not counterattack. He simply stepped back. Lyra smiled. "You are cautious." "I am patient," Orion answered. She increased her speed, delivering a series of fast strikes. Orion continued to block and move, never rushing, never striking back. From above, some cadets whispered, "He's on the defensive already." But among the veteran officers, no one spoke. They watched his footwork. They watched his breathing. They watched his eyes. And they understood something the younger cadets did not. Orion was not struggling. He was studying her. Lyra paused briefly, surprised that he had not fallen yet. "Are you going to attack?" she asked. "When it is time," Orion replied. The crowd laughed again, thinking it was a weak answer. Lyra's smile faded slightly. She adjusted her stance and activated a higher power setting on her blade. The hum grew louder. "If you wish to treat this seriously," she said, "then I will as well." Around the arena, the mood shifted just a little. High above, one old officer whispered to another, "She still thinks this is a game." In the center of the field, Orion raised his blade calmly. The game, however, was about to change. The game begins. The energy barrier around the arena shimmered softly as Princess Lyra adjusted her stance. The light from her blade reflected in her sharp eyes. She was no longer smiling. Across from her, Orion stood relaxed. His training blade was held low, almost carelessly. To many watching, it looked like he was barely trying. Lyra moved again. This time she did not rush blindly. She circled him first, light steps smooth against the arena floor. Her suit enhanced her balance and speed. Every movement was precise, trained since childhood. Orion turned slowly to face her, keeping the same calm distance. Suddenly she lunged forward with a fast spin, blade cutting through the air toward his side. Orion blocked. The sound of impact echoed sharply. Sparks flew where energy met reinforced training metal. Lyra followed immediately, with a second strike from above. Orion stepped back and angled his blade just enough to redirect the force. He still did not attack. The crowd began to grow louder. "Push him," one cadet shouted. "He's retreating," another added. From the officer section, the older veterans remained silent. Lyra increased her speed again. She attacked from the left, then right, then low. Her blade flashed like lightning, fast and bright. Orion moved just enough each time. A step to the side. A small turn of the wrist. A short shift of balance. He wasted no motion. After several exchanges, Lyra jumped back and studied him carefully. "You defend well," she admitted, "but you cannot win by only blocking." Orion's breathing was steady. "I am not trying to win yet." The words confused her. She activated her shield emitter. A faint glow appeared around her body, adding protection. Most duels did not require full shields, but she was growing serious now. The Academy commander frowned slightly, but allowed it. The match was still within safe limits. Lyra attacked again, this time using both speed and shield force. She aimed to overwhelm him. Orion finally moved forward. For the first time, he closed distance instead of retreating. Their blades clashed again and again. The sound rang through the arena. Lyra felt a difference now. His blocks were sharper, stronger, still controlled, still patient, but no longer passive. She attempted a high-spin strike, a move that had defeated many skilled opponents. Orion ducked beneath it and stepped inside her guard. For a split second, his blade rested at her shoulder. He could have scored a clean hit. Instead, he stepped back. The crowd gasped. Lyra blinked in surprise. "You hesitated," she said. "I chose not to finish it," Orion replied calmly. Her pride flared. "I do not need mercy." "I know." The way he said it made something shift inside her. He did not sound arrogant. He sounded certain. Lyra attacked again, now with real intensity. Her movements became sharper, less playful. She aimed to prove she did not require his restraint. Orion met her attacks with equal precision. He began to guide her movements without her realizing it. Each time she struck, he redirected her slightly off balance. Each time she advanced, he positioned himself exactly where he wanted to be. Lyra felt frustration building. Why was he not tired? She had increased her speed twice. Her enhanced suit was working at near full capacity, yet his breathing remained slow. From the stands, a young cadet whispered, "He's not even sweating." An older officer beside him replied quietly, "Watch his eyes." Lyra attempted her most advanced sequence, 3 rapid strikes followed by a shield-powered charge. Orion blocked the first, slid past the second. Then, instead of stopping the third, he stepped inside it again. This time, he gently twisted her wrist. Her energy blade flickered and slipped from her grasp, sliding across the arena floor. The entire arena fell silent. Lyra stared at her empty hand. Orion held his blade at her chest, but not touching. He had disarmed her in one smooth movement. The silence felt heavy. After a moment, Orion lowered his blade and stepped back. "Retrieve your weapon," he said. Lyra's eyes narrowed. She walked to pick up her blade, her mind racing. He had not used strength. He had not used speed. He had used timing. As she reactivated her blade, she looked at him differently now. This was no longer a game to her. "You are studying me," she said slowly. "Yes," Orion answered. "You let me believe I was in control." "Yes." The crowd was no longer cheering. They were watching carefully. Lyra adjusted her grip and spoke quietly, but firmly. "Then I will stop holding back." Across the arena, Orion's posture changed slightly. His shoulders straightened. His stance lowered. His focus sharpened. The air itself seemed heavier. In the officer section, one veteran finally spoke in a low voice. Now she will understand. The game was over. The lesson was about to begin. The shift. The arena felt different now. The bright lights still shone. The energy barrier still hummed. The crowd still filled the seats. But the mood had changed. Princess Lyra stood with her blade ready. This time there was no smile on her face. No playful confidence. Only focus. Across from her, Orion no longer looked relaxed. He looked awake. His stance was lower. His grip firmer. His eyes sharper. He was not angry. He was not excited. He was serious. Lyra moved first. She dashed forward faster than before, pushing her suit to higher output. Her blade cut toward his shoulder, then instantly shifted toward his leg. A quick fake. A real strike. Orion blocked both. The sound of metal and energy rang louder than before. Sparks scattered across the floor. Lyra attacked again and again. Orion did not retreat now. He moved forward into her attacks. Each time she swung, he stepped inside her reach. Each time she tried to create space, he closed it. He forced her to react instead of attack. For the first time, Lyra felt pressure. Not physical pain. Pressure. He was controlling the distance. She spun low and aimed at his side. Orion pivoted and gently struck her shield generator with the flat of his blade. The shield flickered. Not broken, but weakened. Lyra's eyes widened. He had found the weak point. She jumped back, breathing slightly harder now. Her enhanced suit was warm against her skin. Her heart was beating faster. Orion's breathing was still steady. "You are faster than most," Orion said calmly, "but you rely too much on speed." Lyra felt heat rise in her face. "I do not rely on anything." She charged again. This time she used everything at once: speed, shield boost, power strike. Her blade glowed brighter than before. The crowd leaned forward. Orion stepped forward to meet her. Their blades collided with force that shook the arena floor. The impact sent a wave through the air barrier. Lyra pushed harder. Orion did not resist directly. Instead, he shifted his weight slightly to the side. Her own force carried her forward. In one smooth motion, Orion turned, redirected her arm, and placed his foot behind her ankle. Lyra lost balance. She hit the ground hard, her blade sliding away again. Gasps filled the arena. Orion did not strike her. He stepped back once more. "Stand," he said simply. Lyra rose quickly, anger burning in her chest. This was no accident. He had used her strength against her. She looked at the veterans in the officer section. They were not surprised. They were nodding. That scared her more than the fall. She picked up her blade again. This time she did not rush. She watched him carefully. Orion did not move. He waited. Lyra tried something different.
Slow steps.
Testing movements. Small attacks meant to draw a reaction. Orion reacted only when necessary. Every movement of his blade was small.
Clean.
Exact. No wasted energy. No dramatic motion. She suddenly understood something. He was not fighting to impress anyone. He was fighting to survive. A memory surfaced in her mind. Stories she had heard about Earth. A planet that faced extinction. A war where humans fought even after their fleets were destroyed. She looked at Orion again. This was not a man trained for sport. This was a man trained for war. Lyra attacked one final time, with full focus. Not wild. Not emotional. Precise. She aimed 3 quick strikes at different angles. Orion blocked the first. Slid under the second. When the third came, he stepped forward instead of back. His blade twisted around hers. With a sharp motion, he locked her weapon arm. She tried to pull away. He gently but firmly forced her down to one knee. His blade stopped just at her neck. Not touching, but close enough. The entire arena was silent. No cheering. No whispers. Only the soft hum of the barrier. Lyra looked up at him. There was no pride in his eyes. No mockery. Only calm control. Slowly, Orion removed his blade and stepped back. The match signal chimed. Duel complete. Princess Lyra had been defeated. She remained on one knee for a moment, breathing hard. Not from injury. From understanding. Orion offered his hand. After a short pause, she accepted it and stood. You could have ended it many times, she said quietly. Yes. Why did you not? Because you were learning. The words struck deeper than any blade. Lyra looked around the arena. The young cadets were staring at Orion with new respect. The veterans were watching her carefully. She bowed her head slightly. I thought this was a game, she admitted. Orion shook his head gently. Combat is never a game. She understood now. Technology did not make someone strong. Speed did not make someone dangerous. Experience did.
Pain did.
Survival did. The princess straightened her posture. Teach me, she said. It was not a command.
It was a request.
Orion studied her for a long moment. If you train, he replied, you train as a soldier, not as royalty. Lyra nodded without hesitation. Then I will train as a soldier. For the first time since the duel began, a small, almost invisible smile touched Orion's face. In the stands, one old veteran whispered to another, She has potential. The other nodded. And now she is the right teacher. The legend had not needed to shout. He had not needed to boast. He had simply shown the difference between playing at war and surviving it. The truth behind the legend. The duel was over, but the arena did not empty. No one rushed out. No one spoke loudly. Princess Lyra stood beside Orion at the center of the arena. The energy barrier slowly powered down around them. The lights above softened, but the silence remained heavy. People were not just thinking about the result. They were thinking about what they had seen. Lyra felt it clearly now. The shift in how everyone looked at Orion. It was no longer simple respect for a skilled instructor. It was something deeper.
Fear.
Not fear of violence. Fear of experience. The academy commander stepped forward. The match is concluded, he announced. Still, no one moved. Lyra turned toward Orion. They call you a legend, she said quietly. Why? Orion did not answer at once. He walked to the side of the arena and picked up his jacket. He placed it over his shoulder and looked out at the crowd. Finally, one of the older officers stood up. Because he survived, the officer said. The younger cadets looked confused. Survived what? Lyra stepped closer. Survived what? She asked. The officer's voice was calm but serious. The Siege of Earth. The name alone caused a ripple in the audience. Everyone had studied it in history class. It was known as one of the darkest wars in the galaxy. Earth had faced a massive alien alliance. Its fleets were destroyed. Its cities were bombarded. Most experts believed humans would surrender within weeks. They did not. They fought without supply lines, the officer continued. Without air support. Without reinforcements.
He looked at Orion.
His unit held the last orbital defense gate for 6 days. A quiet gasp spread across the arena. 6 days. Under constant attack. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. That is not possible. It wasn't, the officer replied. But they did it anyway. Lyra slowly turned to Orion again. You never told anyone, she said. Orion shrugged slightly. It was my duty. The simplicity of the answer made it heavier. Lyra remembered how he moved in the duel.
Calm.
Efficient. No wasted motion. He was not showing skill. He was showing survival habits. Why did you not fight me seriously from the start? She asked. Orion looked at her carefully. Because real war is not something to display. His voice remained even. I do not enjoy fighting. I do not perform for applause. I only fight when necessary. The words echoed in her mind. The crowd slowly began to understand. The princess had thought it was a game. For Orion it had once been life or death. One young cadet stood up nervously. Is it true your squad was outnumbered 10-1? Orion answered without pride. Yes. And you still held the gate? Yes.
How?
Orion paused.
Discipline, he said.
Patience. Trust. He looked at Lyra briefly. And understanding that the enemy will make mistakes when they believe they are winning. The lesson was clear. That was exactly what he had done to Lyra. He had let her believe she controlled the fight. Then he waited. Lyra felt no anger now. Only respect. The academy commander stepped forward again. Captain Orion does not speak about the war, he said. But his record is open for study. A large screen activated above the arena. Images appeared. Destroyed ships in orbit. Burning skies over Earth. Small human squads holding defensive lines against overwhelming numbers. Lyra watched carefully. She saw Orion in one image. Younger. Covered in dust and smoke. His uniform torn. His eyes tired but focused. He looked the same.
Calm.
The screen faded. Silence returned. Lyra stepped forward and faced the crowd. I challenged him for entertainment, she said clearly. That was my mistake. Her voice did not shake. I now understand that strength is not loud. It does not need display. She turned to Orion. I ask again. Teach me. This time the request was heard by everyone. Orion studied her expression. There was no pride left in it. No mockery. Only determination. Training begins at sunrise, he said. No special treatment. No royal privilege. Lyra nodded immediately. Understood. The commander looked surprised but allowed it. No one objected. The crowd slowly began to leave the arena, but the atmosphere was different now. The younger cadets whispered with new respect. The older officers seemed satisfied. As Lyra walked beside Orion toward the exit, she asked one more question. Were you afraid during the siege? Orion did not answer right away. Yes, he finally said. Lyra looked confused. But you sound calm. I was afraid every day, he explained. Fear keeps you alert. Panic kills you. She absorbed that quietly. And what kept you fighting? She asked. Orion stopped walking and looked back at the empty arena. My people, he said simply. Lyra understood. He had not fought for glory.
He had fought to protect.
That was the difference between a warrior trained for sport and a soldier forged by war. As they stepped outside the arena into the cool night air, the academy lights glowing behind them, Lyra felt something new. Not humiliation. Not defeat. Purpose. Tomorrow, she would no longer train to win games. She would train to understand survival, and the legend who defeated her without hatred would now become her teacher. A soldier, not a princess. The sun had not fully risen when Princess Lyra arrived at the training field. There were no bright arena lights here. No cheering crowd. No energy barriers. Just open ground, cold morning air, and simple training equipment. Orion was already there. He stood near a line of weighted packs and old-style training weapons. He was not wearing formal clothes, only simple combat gear. Lyra approached with steady steps. "You are early," Orion said without turning. "You said sunrise," she replied. He glanced at her briefly, then nodded once.
Good.
"Leave your royal badge there." Lyra hesitated for half a second. The small symbol on her uniform marked her as heir to her people. But she removed it. She placed it on a metal crate beside the field. Orion handed her a heavy pack. "Put it on." It was heavier than she expected, far heavier than her advanced suit ever felt. "There is no enhancement gear today," Orion said. "No shields. No power boosts." Lyra adjusted the straps and straightened her back. "What is the lesson?" she asked. Orion began walking toward a long dirt track. Endurance. They started running. At first, Lyra kept a steady pace. She was trained, after all. But the weight pulled at her shoulders. The uneven ground slowed her steps. Orion ran beside her without difficulty. After several laps, her breathing grew harder. On the battlefield, Orion said calmly as they ran, "Your gear can fail. You may lose power. You may lose support. What remains is your body and your will." Lyra pushed forward, ignoring the strain in her legs. They finished the run. Orion did not allow her to rest. "Now balance." He led her to a narrow metal beam raised slightly above the ground. She stepped onto it carefully. "Close your eyes," he instructed.
She did.
"Why?" she asked. "In war, visibility is not guaranteed." Lyra tried to keep steady. Without sight, the simple beam felt unstable. The weight on her back pulled her slightly off-center. She nearly slipped. Orion's voice remained calm. "Do not fight the balance. Feel it." She slowed her breathing, adjusted her stance. Step by step, she crossed the beam. When she stepped down, sweat covered her forehead. Orion nodded slightly. "Good." The training continued for hours. Weapon drills, hand-to-hand techniques, reaction exercises. No advanced technology, only discipline. Lyra fell more than once. She made mistakes. She grew tired. But she did not complain. At midday, Orion finally allowed a short break. They sat beneath a simple shade structure. No royal guard stood nearby. No assistants offered water. Lyra drank from a standard field canteen. "Why train this way?" she asked quietly. "When we have better technology." Orion looked at the distant horizon. "Technology changes," he said. "Enemies adapt. But human instinct," he tapped his chest lightly, "remains." She thought about the duel again. He had defeated her not with better weapons, but with control. During the siege, she asked carefully, "Did you ever think you would lose?" "Yes," Orion answered honestly. "Then why continue?" He met her eyes. Because surrender would not protect anyone. The simple truth settled between them. Lyra realized something important. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was action despite fear. Training resumed. This time, Orion faced her directly. "No powers," he said. "Only skill." They began slowly. Lyra focused on timing instead of speed. She watched his shoulders, his feet, his breathing. When she attacked, she did not rush. Orion blocked, but this time he nodded slightly. She adjusted her stance and tried again. Small improvements, small corrections. By late afternoon, Lyra was exhausted. Her arms shook. Her legs felt heavy. Orion finally lowered his weapon. "That is enough for today." Lyra stood breathing hard. "Was I acceptable?" she asked. Orion studied her. "You listened." "That is a good start." She felt a quiet sense of pride, not royal pride, but earned pride. As she reached for her royal badge on the crate, she paused. Then she left it there. Orion noticed. "Training continues tomorrow," he said. "I will be here," she replied. Days turned into weeks. Lyra trained like any other soldier. She carried weight. She ran in storms. She practiced until her muscles burned. Slowly she changed. Her movements became efficient. Her attacks became patient. Her confidence no longer loud. One evening, after a long session, a group of young cadets watched her spar with Orion. She moved with focus and control. Not flashy, not playful. When the match ended, one cadet whispered, "She fights like him." Orion heard it. He did not smile, but his eyes softened slightly. Lyra approached him after the session.
"I understand now," she said.
"Understand what?" "Why legends are quiet." Orion looked at the setting sun. "Legends are just people who survived long enough to learn." Lyra nodded. She no longer saw him as just a human instructor. She saw him as proof that strength was built in hardship. As they walked back toward the academy, she asked one final question. "If war comes again," she said carefully, "will humans fight the same way?" Orion's answer was simple. Yes. Not with anger, not with pride, but with resolve. Lyra felt no fear at that answer. Only respect. She had once thought it was all a game. Now she trained for something real. And somewhere in the academy halls, whispers had already begun. The alien princess who challenged a legend was becoming one herself.